welcome to the other three amigos, Las Damas, your weekly unofficial SSE Airtricity Women's Premier Division podcast with Declan McCormack, Eileen Ring and John O'Sullivan. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. So sit back, put the feet up, because it's TOTAP time.
On this week's TOTAP Las Damas, we sincerely apologise to one Premier Division club. It was a quiet week in Irish women's football, so we look across the water and stateside. We take a look back at all three Premier Division cup ties. Is Decky the only Amigo with standards? We look ahead to next week's games, and we discuss the performances of the intermediate sides in this season's FAI Cup. As Eileen warns, mind that gap.
Oh my God, TOTAP Las Damas, Season 4, Episode 19, Episode 254 of the full TOTAP offering. We are the award-winning podcast. We are now on Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com/TOTAP. As always, retweets are very important to help the pod grow, and our DMs are always open. Always joined by my other two amigos, Eileen Ring and John O'Sullivan. Guys, how's the week been for you both?
Olympic filled, I think, for us both. Does anything happen other than that?
Yeah, I've watched a lot of TV and a lot of sport on TV and very little football.
Are you both experts though in things like badminton, synchronized swimming, various forms of athletics, so on and so forth?
Synchronized diving, I think I'm an expert anyway, and possibly as well the pommel horse now. You know, I think I've really upped my skills there. So yeah, those two now I'd be as confident talking about those as football.
Yeah, if you want to have a conversation on pommel horsing, John, I can help you. I might be able to have one on diving, but maybe not on this pod, on the other pod possibly. Guys, I guess we better start with an apology. Feels like I'm starting with an apology more often than I should be now, but it's nearly every week now at this stage. But big apology due to DLR, as we criticised them last week for not announcing the signing of Shannon Cody Hanlon. And then, as soon as our DMs are open, our inbox was flooded with listeners telling us that they had indeed announced her on the 5th of July with links to Instagram posts and Twitter posts and everything else. So look, when we're wrong, we are wrong. We'll always hold our hands up. All we can do is humbly apologise to DLR, hope and pray that they won't fall out with us, that they can find it in their heart and soul to forgive us. Apology to DLR from everybody in TOTAP Towers, and we certainly hope it won't happen again. Guys, this week in Irish women's football was fairly quiet, Eileen. There wasn't a whole lot happening. Jessie Stapleton has gone to Sunderland on loan for the season. I guess in terms of minutes and game time, that's a good move for her anyway.
Yeah, it's a brilliant move. She played a huge amount out on loan at Reading last year. Like, Jessie's still only 19, and I think people maybe forget that because she's been around for so long. She was a mainstay in the league from 16. So I think for her and for West Ham, it makes sense because there's no doubt in my mind how good a player she's going to be. And as I said, like, she'll play week in, week out in Sunderland at a really, really good level. So yeah, a brilliant move for her. And I think really good business from West Ham as well.
Is there any thought that having spent last season on loan at Reading, that she should be back and pushing for inclusion in that West Ham team or at least matchday squad, and that going on loan for another season to Sunderland is maybe an acknowledgement that maybe things aren't going as well as they should? And I know that's particularly harsh, me phrasing it that way, and I don't want it to come across that way, but I hope you know what I'm trying to say, that.
Yeah, no, I understand you're always harsh, so it's okay. And I think everyone kind of knows that now at this point. But no, like, I think she only went on loan for the second half of the season. I think if you look at the Women's League in general, the Super League in England, it's not a young league. Like, there's not a huge amount of 18, 19-year-olds playing week in, week out. And for West Ham, what makes more sense, like, for her to be pushing for a match day squad and getting 10 minutes here or there, or going out where she's probably going to play essentially every minute, and you come back next year. And obviously if the following season you're saying, they're sending her out on loan again, then maybe alarm bells. But like, no, for me, she's 19. I think she's right where she needs to be. yeah, as I said, I personally think it's a good move. I wouldn't look any further at it that she should be pushing at this stage, just based on the age demographic of the league in England.
Okay, that's me back in my box pretty quickly, which is the best way to do it. John, Cork's favourite daughter, Denise O'Sullivan, signed a new contract at NC Courage. She also had a couple of interesting things to say about Man United, and admitted that there had been interest, and she did have a look, but it was almost as if she felt the situation around that club at the moment wasn't stable enough, and it wasn't an environment that she really wanted to go into.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody that kind of keeps an eye on either Manchester United or the Women's League in England will be surprised by that. I think United are seem to be pulling resources and pulling interest out of the women's game there. I think Denise has stayed with a club where she's well known, well loved, and comfortable. So I think, look, I suppose it would have been nice to have her in the UK purely from an Irish perspective, not reducing the travel back to and from internationals, but it hasn't hurt her so far being over with the Courage, and I think she's had a fantastic career there. So another 2 years is a great move for her, and look, she'll have plenty football in her legs in 2 years' time if she wants to have another look.
Yeah, Eileen, that was a question I was going to ask you. I mean, 2 years' time, is that a period when you would definitely expect to see her back in, if not in the UK, definitely in Europe?
Yeah, look, I mean, Denise's her partner, he's American, and they're living together over there as well. So obviously that does weigh heavily on her. I do agree. Like, I think as soon as people were mentioning Manchester United, I was like, she's not coming to Manchester United. It's an absolute shit show there. Like, and like everything that comes out of there is just, they're essentially going to be expected to change for training in a shed. Like, so it was, that move for me never made sense. Look, she said in that interview, I think it was on Off the Ball, that she does, like, obviously it's something, she grew up, I suppose, in Ireland, so you'd be looking at the English league always, and the fact that you're close to home. But look, I mean, they love her over there. They really do. The club do, the supporters do, the league in general do. I follow a couple of pages that are fans of the NWSL, and like, she's an absolute icon there. So like, for me, if you continue in that vein, why bother coming home, I suppose? And if you've good like contract offers and things like that, and in terms of lifestyle, it obviously really, really suits her. I mean, her career has just kicked on, I think, beyond what anybody ever thought it would be. From the moment really she went to the States, and to the Courage in particular. So I don't know. I suppose wait and see. But like, for me, I think, and as an Irish supporter, like, we're seeing the best out of her at the Courage. So unless something changes there, I don't know if we will ever see her kind of over this side of the world.
Is she a player that's more suited by that game in America than she would be by the game in England?
Like, she is an incredibly athletic player, and like engine wise and everything like that. So for that reason, I think the game in the States probably does suit her. That being said, she came on loan to Brighton a couple of seasons ago, and she was brilliant. She was excellent. Like, so look, Denise is such a good player. It doesn't matter where she can play in any league in the world, and she'll be a standout player. Like, she is that good. As I said, I do think her athleticism helps her kick on in America, whereas not every player will have that. But yeah, I just think she's such a good player. It wouldn't matter where she goes, she'll be a standout player. Like, she is world class.
Yeah, okay. And finally, Megan Connolly is another one of the Irish senior internationals who's on the move, but her father wouldn't tell you where she's going, Eileen, would he? So there's kind of no news on
No,
that one, is there?
no, he said he definitely wouldn't be told, because half of Cork would know. So we'll see.
Well, yeah,
So if
looks
he
like she
did
was
know,
correct.
if he did know, he's certainly a good poker player, in fairness.
Very good, very good. As I said, it's been a quiet week, not much happening. There was a team of the week came out last Monday. That is 2 Mondays running that the team of the week has come out. I'm not saying they're doing that to avoid us and our
To
basically
avoid
ripping the
you,
shit of said team of the week, but
Declan, not
Us,
us,
you.
you. It's
yeah,
the
and
Decky
they're
effect.
going to win, because I'm not going back to it 6 days later anyway. Every week, I can tell you that much. So if that's the way it's going, then fair play to them. They win this one, round 1 to the FAI. John, unfortunately, this week, no underage games, so nothing for us to review in that way. So already only I won't say how many minutes in because it always feels like stuff might have to come out or whatnot. And we're giving away time marks, and people are going, "Oh, where did the other 7 minutes go?" So we'll just say it. We'll go straight into the FAI Cup games from this weekend. What we're going to do is we're just going to take a look at the 3 All Premier Division games very quickly, and then we'll have a chat about the intermediate sides as a whole and maybe where they go in terms of the cup from here on. Mike Bassett did it again, Eileen. Bowes 2, Peamount 1, 4-4-2, get the ball in the box. I mean, Bowes are now turning into a seriously impressive outfit.
Kiernan Ball, yeah, it's really good. Like I said, I to be fair, Ken shared the goal and he shared it from the opposite angle. McKevitt's crossed the first goal, and like it's just beautiful. Like it's so so good to watch, and I
Yeah.
think it's easy to play that style of football when you have a winger as natural as Sarah McKevitt, and I think McAvoy does it very well over the other side, and they're both brilliant at coming in then as well when the ball is on the opposite flank. But they were good, but like that's not to discount Peamount, because I thought Peamount were very good again, better going forward throughout the game as a whole. Like they had plenty of chances, they created a lot, which I thought they were very stuttery up until maybe last week, but they'll be disgusted to be out of the cup, like, because I said the league's beyond them. They're out of the All-Ireland Cup. I know they have Champions League, but like, well, look, I don't want to say they're not going to win it, but it's highly unlikely that they will win the Champions League. And even if they do, it won't be till next May. So look, again, I'm not ruling them out. But no, I was just really impressed with Bowes, and again, defensively, I was really impressed with them, because it said it wasn't that Peamount didn't create anything, but like Sarah Duke Power, Lisa Murphy again, like, and it's the same names we're pointing out every week, but like rightly so, because I think they're excellent. I thought Tegan Ruddy and Fiona Donnelly were brilliant going forward as well, and yeah, look, I said Sarah Power, like Sarah, or not Sarah Power, Sarah McKevitt, like she's really like it'd be. I know we didn't have her in our half team of the season, but like she's a big push for the team of the season, because another 2 assists yesterday. Like I just think she's so so good. Brilliant result for Bowes. I don't think probably anybody expected it. I think collectively as a league we probably expected maybe Peamount to kick on after that Athlone win, but that Bowes side now, like, they won't consider it an upset, but I think a lot of people will consider it an upset. And like they've obviously beat Galway and Daly Mount, so like they're making Daly Mount a fortress as well, I think, which is a really positive thing to see. But said huge credit to Ken Kiernan, because I think he plays football a little bit differently, his side does, and I think what's impressive to me about what he's doing there is so many managers have like, this is how I play football, and everyone has to bend then to fit that. Like he's playing a style of football that suits the squad he has, and it's really really effective. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed the game. I only watched it this morning, but yeah, great game from both sides.
Yeah, John. Unfortunately for Peamount, it's a Karen Duggan error that doesn't gift Bowes the second goal, because Bowes still had a lot to do for that second goal, but it was a Karen Duggan effort. Bowes finished it brilliantly, and Eileen's nodding her head at me saying
No,
no.
we're not allowed to speak ill of Karen Duggan, okay? We're allowed to be like really, really honestly critical, but myself and John won't speak ill of Karen. Like, okay, that's
I
all.
thought she was fouled, to be honest. No. Look, I think Eileen's kind of covered the bulk of it there. But I think what was impressive from Bo's point of view is that, like Eileen said, Peamount were good, and they created a lot, and Bo stood up to it. The first goal is just really good play from Bo's, like, and what we've come to, almost their trademark now with Sarah McKevitt getting the cross in. Yeah, look, the second goal could have been cut out, but at the same time, like you said, Bo still had a lot to do and continued through the final third, and good finish. So Peamount would have been scratching their heads a bit going into down at half time, I think, because as good a game as it was, Bows didn't create a huge amount in the first half, but really you couldn't begrudge them the win. I thought they were excellent, and again, I just thought Lisa Murphy was a standout, because Peamount were good again. It was a really good game, and a really good start kind of to the day's coverage.
Yeah. Went from there to their big rivals, Shamrock Rovers, home to Wexford. John, you're the Wexford head amongst the three of us. I mean, They must be just sick and tired of the sight of penalties at this stage.
Yeah, and it's a tough one for them to take again so soon after the Galway All Ireland Cup semi-final. But it was an absolute cracker of a game. It really was. Both teams absolutely went for it, played really, really good football. Rovers deserved it. I know it did come early, but from Melissa O'Kane, but Rovers deserved their lead when they got it. Wexford kept battling. Ella Malloy scores a lovely goal to bring it back. The extra time was a ding dong. It was end to end. Both teams just absolutely going for it. But yeah, look, it's one of those games. Had it been a league game, we would have been kind of complimenting how well both sides have done and how well they played and what a great game it was. But coming up to the end of it, penalties. Yeah, Amanda Budd makes a fantastic save for the ball. I think it was Ora Conlon's shot.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant save from Amanda. And then Jess Hennessy, centre half, taking a penalty, comes up, and yeah, no, it was great. It was really, really good. Little story within the story, I suppose, that Emily Corbett, coming on late on, and she missed the chance late on, then missed the penalty, but it didn't affect the result in the end. So look, Rovers go through, and you couldn't begrudge them it really. I thought it was a great game though.
I think just Shamrock Rovers, I said last week, firmly tongue-in-cheek, that if they won this game, it would be an upset. Obviously, I was joking and messing and whatnot, but like they went 1-0 up early, but they never really looked like putting the game to bed. It was almost as if they were kind of happy, especially second half, to see out the 1-0, and if they could catch Wexford on the break, then so be it. But it was more about defending and seeing it out than truly going after the game and trying to get a second or a third. Is that fair?
Maybe that's not give. I don't think that's the case. I think they're probably having to show Wexford a bit of respect as well, because they know how dangerous they are going forward. And if you just commit everyone to going, like, you're going to be wide open. And I think maybe it's the case that Shamrock Rovers are learning, because to be fair, in a lot of games they were drawing earlier on in the season, like they were going gung ho, and there was a huge amount of defensive errors because of that, because they were leaving themselves so wide open. So like I kind of think the same as John. I just thought it was a fairly end to end game. I said extra time was absolutely brilliant, and you could see they were all out in their feet, but like no one kind of was willing to give an inch. And like with that Wexford side, and I know like you do think we're a little bit biased towards Wexford, and look, probably we both do have our biases towards Wexford, of course, but like they're never, you could just never write them off. Like they don't know how to lose, or they don't know like when is enough, or when you're beaten. And even kind of as that game goes on, like it's a brilliant free kick from Ella Malloy, I think, to equalise it when she does. But like with Shamrock Rovers, it's not an upset. I don't think there's very much to give between the two sides, and that's been the case all season. And for them, they're going to be delighted going on in the cup, because again, like for Wexford, they're suddenly left kind of trophyless at this point of the season, and is it hard to kind of keep going as the season goes on and keep motivated and things like that. So like for Shamrock Rovers, that's the most important thing, is said they're in the hat. And I saw an interview with Aoife Kelly after, and she said, look, we have the next round of this, now we have they obviously have the All Ireland Cup final as well. So look, I know you disagree, but I think like aside from the league, if they finish the season with 2 cup finals and a trophy in one, if not both of them, it's been a very, very successful season for them, I think.
Not if they finish 8th. I'm not having that. Not if they finish it. Not with that squad. Not with that squad. Come on, guys. That squad's a league within squad. Or you have like, it's definitely a league challenging squad. It's not like, I can't have that squad in 8th. Like I can't. They're so
Yeah,
much
a long
better
way
than
to
that.
go
Like,
yet. Long way to
that
go
squad
yet.
is so much better than that.
A long way to go yet. They'll finish above 8. Like you just, as I said, but even if they finish 8th and they win 2 cups, it's a good season, Declan.
If
I
they
take it as a Cork City fan.
Right, fucking bite your hand off for it. Jesus Christ!
but
bite
come
your hand
on.
off and run.
Look, when you put that squad and you look at it on paper and you put like that's a top 2 squad in this league. Definitely top 3. Finishing anywhere from 8th to 5th over a league, it's like, to me, it's just not good enough. Like I understand winning the cup or winning the All Ireland Cup or whatever it might be, like, but leagues are bread and butter, like, and that squad is so much better than that. And like, if that squad, if the sum of the parts is so much better, than what's been achieved at the moment, then you only need to look in one direction, in my humble
I,
opinion. And I can't get away
I
from
think,
saying it. And I didn't mean to say this, and that's not the conversation I wanted to have now.
yeah.
But this is the way things go,
Sure.
and like I just can't, I just
But I
can't have
like
it.
for me, like I will ultimately judge Shamrock Rovers at the end of the season. But like, of course, they have pumped money in, so everyone expects a lot of them. Probably expect a lot of them again because of silly stuff that they were coming out, and we've covered that in the past. But like, it's a squad in its infancy as well. Like, and like they're still like these players didn't all play together before last season, and it's still kind of an ever changing squad, I think. So as I said, look, for me, I do think they'll finish above 8th because of the players they have and the quality they have. But like the game's not played on paper, and they're learning that. And I think that is, you're seeing that. And yeah, for me, it would be a successful season. But as I said, look, we obviously have different opinions on it, and that's why the world is great.
I think with Savannah McCarthy back and the way she played
Oh, she
yesterday,
was brilliant.
They're not going to finish in 8.
No.
That'll just drive them on. And Aoife Kelly just improves with every game as well. She's
She's a
an
joy
immense
to watch,
talent.
isn't she? Yeah, she's so good to watch.
So I mean, like I know, like we've been saying about Rovers clicking for nearly 2 years now, but I think they've put a couple of big results together that kind of imply that they're getting there.
Big
And
results.
well, they've an all Ireland Cup
final,
win.
Shelburne battered them. Shelburne
But they
battered
didn't.
them with an inch of their life.
No, but I said
what was
big,
their score like? But that's silly. Like that's
yeah,
not.
but I said big results. I didn't necessarily say big performances. That's what kicks you on. That's what gives you confidence. Like they were very good against Wexford, and no, equally in penalties they could have lost that game, and we'd be having a conversation about that. But they've had a couple of big wins, big results recently, and that's going to give them confidence. And Savannah McCarthy being back is another one that's going to drive them on. I'm telling you.
I hate that I'm the only one here who has standards. I'll be perfectly honest with you, Okay. After all, before I get myself in more trouble anyway.
Before you move on.
Yeah,
from that
sorry, I
game.
forgot it. I think I know what you're going to say, but I let you do it.
Yeah, and sure, I'll do the ode to her. You can probably do the ode to her. It'll probably be more genuine for me because I know her. But like 300, it was Kylie Murphy's 300 appearance for Wexford. Like genuinely, like obviously, look, I know there's other players that have probably have high league appearances and high appearances, but Kylie's all with one club. And that's so impressive. And like she's had opportunities to go elsewhere. She's like has been unfalteringly loyal to them, as have they to her, because she had a very bad back injury earlier on in her not in her career, but in the National League. Sorry, Kyle, you're old. So but like she's genuinely, like, she's incredible, an incredible player, an incredible role model. Her attitude to the game, and I think I've spoke on this a few times, and how she gets everything right pre and post game, her recovery, her nutrition, everything is just so spot on. And it's been like that for a few years before it kind of became like commonplace in the league. And I think she was the reason Wexford were, and she'll hate me saying that, and hopefully she won't ever listen to this, so we're fine. But she was the reason Wexford were so successful for so long. I know she had lots of good players around her, but she drove that success. And as I said, I think when we look back in the league, like, and you're always going to talk about your top performance over the course of the league, like for me, Kylie's up there number one in terms of like servants to the league, and what they were able to give their club, and where they were able to bring their club to, because that Wexford side were challenging at a time when it was just this Dublin monopoly on everything. So like, as I said, 300, not out, still going. I don't know, she's telling me she's retiring. This is my last season for about the last 6 seasons. So we'll see. But no, incredible achievement.
Yeah, it is. It is an incredible achievement, and congratulations to Kylie on that. Just very quickly on that, Eileen. So like you have your Kylies, your Pearl Slatteries, obviously your Karen Duggans, Rachel Grahams, these big names with, big successful careers behind them, and kind of wonder the next generation. You're probably not going to see players stay in the league for as long as those players have, because there's opportunities elsewhere in mainland Europe. We've seen players go to in the UK. So the likelihood that the careers of a Karen Duggan and Pearl Slattery, Kylie Murphy would be repeated in this league are probably diminishing year on year.
Yeah, I think the one who will actually go on to surpass them all it will be Alex Kavanagh at Shelburne, because she came into the league at 16. She's just been at Shelburne. She's not going to move from Shelburne. She's quite literally Shelburne through and through. And she's only 24. And it's said, like, so other than that, like, I do agree, like, I do. And I think, like, the way football is going, like, loyalty isn't a big thing. Like, a loyalty that a lot of, like, someone like Kylie would have, someone like Pearl has to Shelburne, Rachel has to Shelburne. To be fair, I know they were at a different club before, but it's essentially a follow on from where they were. But I think that loyalty in football is from players is going, and that's not a bad thing, I think, because I don't think clubs have any loyalties to players either, and they'll kick you out a lot of the time very quickly as well. So you could see it, like, and you could even see it in the Men's League of Ireland, like, it can become a bit of a merry-go-round, can't it? And but yeah, Alex Kavanagh will probably be, I think, the one for me that we'll be talking about in 10 years at about 800 appearances.
Yeah. John, speaking of Alex Kavanagh, that's a lovely link.
Thanks.
Goal, first minute in Eamon DC Park against Galway to set Shelburne on their way to what was eventually a 3-1 win, and a very impressive 3-1 win in my humble opinion.
Best I've seen Shells play this year, and only added to by the fact that it was Galway that they were playing. I thought they were exceptional. They could have been a couple of goals up at half time. They were really good in possession. They carved Galway open a couple of times. But I think what would strike anyone watching the game is how hard they worked in their press out of possession. They were just exceptional. We know Galway can move their ball around the back. They've got some fantastic footballers, but they didn't, like, from the first minute to the 90th, they didn't get a break or a breather. Not a single Galway player. Like the goal Aisling Meany scores just after half time to bring Galway back into the game, you're looking at it going, is that going to be something that's going to, drive Galway on? Are they going to pick up now? Are they going to kick on? Like, it's an exceptional finish, but to be honest, Shells, they brushed it off straight away and they were back on top almost immediately. There was a period there where possibly thinking about wondering where the goal's going to come from when Ava Mahoney steps up, and her strike is just, I look, it's exceptional. And they finished it out lovely. Had the Han Healy goal late on. Looked just like really well worked. The game was done and dusted with that 10 minutes to go then. I just thought start to finish, Owen Weirn got the tactics spot on. It really well executed performance, really high work rate. And if you're at loan or you're a team that's chasing them in the league as well, you'll watch that game and you'll go, Shells are after moving up a gear based on that performance yesterday.
Yeah, very impressive, Eileen, as John said. Aisling Meany's equaliser for Galway, what was it, 2 minutes into the second half? Cracking strike, you're thinking, won't be a better goal this weekend. And up steps Cork's Ava O'Mahony and absolutely thumping one into the top corner from, was it 40 yards? It can't have been far off it. And from that point on, it just never felt like Galway were going to get an equaliser and get themselves back in the tie.
Yeah, and to be honest, even when, like, Galway's equaliser, obviously, look, it's a brilliant strike and it kind of comes from nowhere. Like, even after that, they don't look like they're going to push on. Like, they just look like a side that's really low on confidence at the moment. I think we've spoke about this a couple of times in the last few weeks. And that's got to be a worry for them because they have a cup final coming up. They're not out of that league mix yet, but, like, they have to find form, and they have to find form fast. But yes, Shelburne, like, and I text you in the group after 20 minutes and I said, I hope they're getting this good performance out of their system ahead of next week because they're in turn is cross. But, like, they were very, very impressive. I just thought they were in complete control for the whole game. Again, a little bit guilty of missing a couple of sitters. And please do that again next week if you do get chances. But, like, their first goal is brilliant. It's so well worked. That little 1-2 with Quinn and Kavanagh is outstanding. Like, and yeah, Ava's strike is special. And even the last goal, Hannah Healy's goal, like, she'll probably never hit a ball as poorly and score again because, like, the keeper is quite poor for it. Like, but Noelle is brilliant in the build up. But, like, the keeper has to save that there, I think. She'll personally be disappointed with that, I'd imagine. But yeah, like, it's, I think the thing with the cup now is that, like, I think it's really winnable for every side that's left in it. But I also think every side left in it will be hoping Shelburne draw Athlone in the next round.
100%.
That draw is on Tuesday. I think it's 12 o'clock on Tuesday, John, is it? Yeah.
believe so, yeah.
We will know by this time next week who faces each other in the quarterfinal. The other thing that came out of the weekend, guys, was the performance of the intermediate clubs who were stepping up. Myself and Eileen were in Turner's Cross yesterday to see Cork City beat Douglas Hall 9-0. But the bottom three teams in the SSE Airtricity Women's Premier Division drew three intermediate sides. So you say the three teams nearest to that intermediate grade, according to the league table, drew intermediate teams. Treaty won 9-0, Sligo won 5-0, and DLR won 4-0. Like, Eileen, it's a there's no getting away from it. It's a poor reflection on the junior and intermediate grades in the country at the moment. But like the difference is, it was just so stark in Turner's Cross, and I guess that was repeated across the other three games. That, like, is there merit in continuing with putting the intermediate teams into the cup at this stage, do you think?
First of all, I don't think it's a poor reflection of where football is in the country, as in the junior clubs. I think that's really unfair. I think it's a sign of how far ahead the National League sides are, because they are in everything essentially professional teams in terms of the facilities they have available to them, like recovery, pre-game, post-game. They're training a couple of times a week. They all have gym programs. They all have access to high-level gyms. Basically, like, well, 90% of teams have everything taken care of them. Maybe the other 10% have to fight a little bit more to get bits. But as I said, essentially, like, it's not an even playing field at all. And I think it's brilliant to see the National League kicking on, but there's no point in having intermediate teams in this now anymore. They're women who are now playing, like that Douglas Hall side yesterday. And look, I'm going to speak about them because obviously they're my club, they're my friends, and I'll say that, like, they were missing three starters yesterday. Their best player in particular, like Emma McCarthy, was out yesterday. And I said to Emma after the game, she's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I missed it." I was like, well, like, if you were playing, it might have been 8-0. Like, like, it's not that, like, they don't have the fitness to match a side that's training three or four nights a week, 3 or 4 times a week. I think there's no point. I think it's demoralizing. I spoke to a few of them after. I spoke to a few of them this morning. They've had a brilliant season. Are still having a brilliant season. They're in the mix for 2 local cups. They're in the mix for the league. They got to the Intermediate Cup semi-final. They should be more concerned about the loss they suffered in the Intermediate Cup final than the loss they suffered yesterday. Because they said it's essentially playing a professional team. And someone said to me this morning, well, in the men's league, it's the same. Lads, junior football, men's football in the country has more money in it than some of the first division clubs. Like, like, that's the reality of it. Like, so it's not the same thing. And I think the FAI have to look at it, because it did no one any good yesterday. Like, that Cork City game, like, City players were going past players, or they had all this space. They're not going to have that against Shelburne next week. So it's a totally false dawn. And I could see City people on Twitter kind of nearly losing the run of themselves. Like, there's no need for it, because you're not going to go past someone, an international in Kiva Keenan, as easily as you went past players in Douglas Hall. Not being disrespectful to Douglas Hall, but I just think it's unfair on the intermediate sides, and it's a huge cost as well. I know it's not a cost for, like, Douglas Hall in yesterday. It's not maybe a big cost for Whitehall because they were playing in Dublin. But, like, Terranure were to go across the country, Ferns had to go across the country, and I think that's really hard on a side, on clubs that probably don't have that money and aren't getting any money from the FAI to travel. Like, so I just think it's pointless. It's a pointless exercise. There's nobody learning anything from it. And I think leave your cup next year at the 12 Premier Division teams. The cup doesn't need to be expanded past that now until you have a first division established, or when, like, the FAI get their finger out and make Pats and Derry and things like that, put in a senior women's team.
John, I'm just climbing out the top of my box there again that Eileen put me back in and smashed the lid down on very, very hard and very quickly for the second time tonight. Okay, I might have phrased things wrong, but I guess the point I was making was that there's a big gap between both. And how do we go about bridging that now, John? And what needs to happen in order to bridge it? Eileen mentioned the first division. I spoke to a couple of people, managers and people around the league today, to try and get a an idea of how they saw things. And the first division was one of the things that was mentioned as a way to bridge that gap. That there were players who might be maybe just not good enough for women's national league level, but are probably too good for the local game. And that if there was a first division, that's a way to bridge the gap for those players. Is that something you would think there's merit in?
There's merit in it, but again, what clubs are going to step forward to fill that first division? That's the question. So you like right now, we know Waterford are coming into the league next year. We know that Carlow Kilkenny have a path with women's teams actually competing. Kerry have started those. The next step is to get the League of Ireland teams that don't have women's teams playing to enter them. Some of them are playing at underage levels. That needs to improve and increase. But I think it is just a reflection, and in a way positively for the women, the League of Ireland here, that the league has improved dramatically, because those results wouldn't have happened as comfortably maybe, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. Like the gulf now is just too big, and it is like I'll take the Treaty game as an example. Treaty were 2-0 up at half time against Ferns, and Ferns were sticking in there. But fitness eventually tells, and you have 7 second half goals scored, and that's not necessarily a reflection of Ferns, who obviously are doing well to be in the draw for the FAI Cup to start with, and are already having a successful season and at a certain level. But Treaty are probably training 3 nights a week. They've nutritionists, strength and conditioning coaches in there, and what you'd always look like really is who benefits from it. And what you have in the men's game when they incorporate senior clubs or intermediate clubs or junior clubs is there's the chance of a payday and a big gate. And if you're a St. Michael's from Tip, or you're a Ringmahon from Cork, and you draw Shamrock Rovers away, you're getting a cut of potentially allowing for the interest from the supporters. You're getting a cut of maybe a 3,000 or 4,000 euro gate. You don't have that same incentive in the women's game. So I think it's a conversation that has to be had. You don't want to take that old cliche of the romance of the cup out of things, but the reality is that the gulf between the Premier Division and the intermediate game is just too big at the moment. That you don't see a situation really where in any foreseeable future that gap gets anything other than bigger. So that's the difficulty is who benefits. Like, and in any of those games yesterday, the League of Ireland club didn't benefit because they will have learned nothing. A few players might have gotten minutes that they might have needed to get under their belts. Clubs might have gotten a chance to look at younger players coming through, but the League of Ireland teams already have the 19s league for exactly that purpose, to give players minutes and to look at younger players coming through. The intermediate clubs got nothing except for hidings and expense. So yeah, I think it has to be looked at, because really in the end, I don't see who benefits from it.
Interesting. Just something John brought up there, Eileen, that we should mention. He was talking about who's going to participate in the first division and that. I did exchange some emails with the FAI, as I mentioned, maybe 6 weeks ago or so, and they made it clear that all
Poor FAI.
clubs. Sorry?
I said the poor FAI. I'd say there's an
Oh,
alarm
sorry.
goes off as soon as your email hits an inbox up there.
Yeah, they haven't replied to the last couple, so might be just going straight to the spam folder now,
It definitely
bypassing
is,
the
yeah.
alarms and the whole lot, But anyway, they did say, I can't quote from the email, but they did say basically that all clubs have submitted a plan for the women's side of their clubs. That plan has been overseen and agreed by the League of Ireland office within the FAI, and all clubs are working towards having a women's team. It's not written into the participation agreements when each club has to have a women's team by, but there's a general understanding between the league and the clubs that this is the date that's been aimed for. and it's expected that those teams will have first division teams when the first division starts, but there is no date as of yet for that, even though it was expected to be 2026. I think, sorry, it was expected to be 25,
Yeah,
wasn't it? 26?
it was.
I can't see
It
it
was.
happening. Like, Pats, I've said it a few times, Pats are getting away with absolute murder. So we'll see what happens. But look, Eileen, some people today did say that they didn't think it was fair to withdraw or to take away that right for the intermediate teams to play in the cup. You're very much pro taking it away because there's no benefit as you see it. Is there anything, like, I don't know, it's a very difficult one. It's a very hard one to figure out about what's right and what's wrong. If you take it away, the intermediate sides are going to kick up and say, look, we're losing one of the benefits of making the semi-finals of the intermediate cup and that. But if you twist around, I think there's 6 senior women's teams in Cork, is it? The Sligo League only started last year. Outside of Dublin, it's very, very difficult to, fill teams and things like that and fill leagues. So is the level just, the difference is just too great for it to be fair to anybody, to be justifiable to keep going the way we're going. But what's the alternative? What way do you do it then?
I think you just have to go with the 12-team cup. I don't think the intermediate side is going to be kicking up because we don't get to go out and travel across to Sligo or travel wherever and be beaten 4 or 5-0. As I said, like, you have the intermediate cup, it's there. Like, there's 5 teams in the Premier Division in Cork, so that's 5 teams like that go into the intermediate cup. Below that, like, even if, and I can only take Cork as an example, like, you have a situation where teams will get promoted from the first division, they don't want to go up. Because they'll think they'll be hammered. Like, now they might be for the first season, but it's about building. But look, that's a different discussion anyway. I just think, like, you have sides, as I said, that are doing brilliantly in their own league. Obviously, like Terranure and Whitehall are in the same league. They're in the Intermediate Cup final. They're 2 very, very good sides. The Dublin League is very, very competitive. It always will be. And all these, like, they have an Intermediate Cup. There's a Munster Cup. There's an Angela Hurst trophy for, like, league sides to go into if they want to step up a level. But the National League now has kicked on, like, and as you said, it is everything other than in name a professional league, and the players are professional in how they approach the game. And it always comes down to, and people always say to me, oh, well, like, it's that there's other players in Cork aren't good enough. It's not that they're not good enough, it's that they don't want to commit to playing at National League level. There is a couple of players playing locally in Cork and playing all around the country that cannot commit to either a first division or a Premier Division because they don't want to be driving in their car every weekend. They don't want to be training 3 nights a week. They want to play football just for the love of it and because they enjoy it and it's a hobby. And that's absolutely fine. And I don't see that there needs to be a big push to get these sides beyond that level because there's opportunities there if you want to play National League. But it's perfectly okay if you're an extremely talented player to just want to play because you enjoy it and you want to play with your club and have the crack and you don't want to live the lifestyle of a professional athlete. That is absolutely fine. And as I said, I can't wrap my head around, I think how much people take for granted the amount of time that goes in from National League players. And then how much we all take for granted that everyone would want to do that. They don't, because, like, people have lives, people have kids, people have jobs, and it's just not always feasible.
Okay, I kind of stuck for words now because I don't know where to go after that. It's just such a difficult subject in terms of the correct way
Like, we'll
forward.
upset people, whatever we all will have different opinions, and I'm sure we'll upset people anyway. But look, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
But even from a cost point of view, just there a few years ago, Bonaghy United drew Cork City in the
FAI Cup, yeah.
in the FAI Cup, and they had to come down to Turner's Cross. They had been down to Douglas Hall. I can't remember if it was the week.
It was
before,
the week
before.
It was the week before.
Yeah, for an intermediate cup semi final. They're in the North of Donegal, and they had, like, to their credit, the club up there supported them. These are all amateur players. They had to give up 2 overnights in 2 weekends in a row, coming down to Cork for 2 consecutive matches, and they lost both. That's tough going. Like, when you're when you're not like Eileen, when you want to do well locally and you're playing for your local club, but they came down, played Cork City, got beaten 7-0. It didn't set, what did they get out of it? Like they get a benchmark on where they are maybe compared to a League of Ireland team, but that stuff already, because they're not competing year in, year out. There's massive costs involved in the FAI Cup if you get a bad draw. Like,
just to counterbalance that, John, wasn't that the same season that Douglas Hall refused to travel to Sligo to play their
They were dead right
first
too,
round
really,
match?
in retrospect, weren't they?
it was, but sure, look,
Yeah.
when you look back now, they would have driven up there. I still think they should have fulfilled that fixture, but they would have driven up there and got beaten, and trashed. And they had an intermediate cup semi final the following weekend against Ballygee at home. So, do you really want that as pure preparation? There you go, like.
It's good
I think it was the other
management.
way around. I think the Bonagee game was first for them, and then they refused to travel to side. But look, I'm only going to get myself in trouble with people at Douglas Hall if I repeat the fact I think they should have been banned from the FAI Cup for 5 years for not
They'd have
fulfilling the
fucking loved it
stipulated
after
fixture.
yesterday, I'd
So
say,
I
to be
won't.
fair.
Very true. Very true. Right, we leave it
Actually,
there.
can I just say, Natalie O'Brien would still do a job for League of Ireland team.
Absolutely, she would.
Like, considering it was a 9-0 loss yesterday, I thought like she was, and Maggie Duncliffe wasn't far behind her. Do you know, considering what they were up against, but I thought Natalie in particular was really good in the circumstances. Like,
Guys, next weekend, back to league action. We'll just have a quick run through the games very quickly because there is a mailbag I want to get to as well. DLR open against Piedmont, 3 o'clock in the UCD Bowl. Very quickly, Eileen, I mean, this is a game that even 3 months ago, everybody would have just looked at it and went, yeah, Piedmont will win that, no bother. Michelle Doonan goes back to DLR, having just left them. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure this is the give me that most people would have thought that it was 3 months ago.
No, it's absolutely not. And I think DLR have probably proved that in the last few weeks. I know, look, they had a bad day at Talca Park, but as we've already said to this episode, I think Shelburne have kind of went up a gear the last 2 weeks. It'll be tough, and it's kind of tough from Piedmont. But like, yeah, I suppose, look, a Michelle Doonan hat-trick is probably written in the stars nearly, is it?
Very likely, very likely. 5 o'clock, John, Shamrock Rovers go down to Galway to AMDC Park in preparation for their meeting in the All-Ireland Cup final the following week. Like, Rovers are probably favourites here the way the last month has gone for Galway.
I'd agree. I think they are. I think they've had a couple of tough games under their belts now as well, and they'll probably go down full of confidence. To be honest, they've got the semi final and the progression in the cup in their last 2 games, and Galway probably aren't as full of confidence as you would like to see them with, or that they're not. Playing, they're not as consistent and as free flowing as they were earlier in the season, when some people that might be called John were tipping them to be in the top 2 non-stop. But no, I think Rovers probably are favourites going down to it, but Galway have enough quality to match them and beat them. But at the same time, I think Galway will be. Sorry, I think Shamrock Rovers will be strong favourites going down, and deservedly so.
Eileen, what way would you see that game?
I just wonder, will one of them, like, I think Galway have to win it. I think if they don't win, they're done with the title race. I just wonder, will Shamrock Rovers maybe play possum a little bit with the cup final the following week? But I don't know, because obviously, look, their interest in terms of, well, obviously we have different ideas on it, but what I deem to be a successful season will be a cup win the following week. So I wonder, does he change things maybe to kind of give Galway that false sense of security? I don't know really. As I said, it's kind of it's a bit shit. I know you're kind of the same as me, as in you hate when those games are like 1 week after the other, because it's kind of, it's difficult. Like, but I just think, with Galway, he needs to get his head around what is his strongest 11. There seems to be quite a lot of changes every week, and I think he needs to maybe go back to what was working for them early on in the season, and that was kind of a consistent 11. And and find what's the best way to use Emma Duffy as well, because like she didn't really get in the game at all the other night, and it said, look, I don't want to be harsh on her because she's just in with the new side, but I think figuring out how to get the best out of her alongside Julianne could suddenly, like, if the two of them were to click in any way, any meaningful way at all, like, then they are right back in everything, I think. Well, obviously apart from the FA Cup, but I just think for Galway to be successful, he needs to kind of nail down, this is my strongest 11 and I'm not going to veer from it now because I can't afford to, essentially.
Yeah, John, you wanted to come in there?
No, it just popped into my head actually. Emma will be cup tied for the All Ireland Cup final, would she? Or is that a thing?
Yeah, I'd say she is. I'd say she played early. It is a thing, all right, yeah.
Yeah, be
No,
interesting one.
it is a thing, all right.
So I think Galway in that sense, I wonder would they just start with Aisling Meany up front, so, and as a trial run for the weekend after.
Or maybe they won't and they'll play possum and, the
Oh,
Shamrock Rovers on the back foot. I mean, it's
Yeah.
all chess. It's all chess, lads.
big chess game.
Yeah, interesting. While all that will be happening, just down the road from Eamon DC Park in Marketsfield, Bows go down to play Treaty. I think this is a game that Treaty look at it and think, yeah, we can win this game. And Bows are travelling down to Limerick going, we can definitely win this game. And I'd be honest with you, I don't know which one of them will win it, but I'd have a slight leaning towards Bows at the moment, I think, John.
I tend to agree. Yeah, I think they've been playing really, really good football the last couple of weeks. They've looked very solid at the back. But it's probably the most interesting game of the weekend in terms of how things are going to pan out, in that it's very hard to call. I actually haven't got a clue, so I'm going to probably sit in the fence because I don't know how it's going to end up. But I actually am looking forward to seeing it, because I think one thing both teams have in common is win, lose, or draw all season. They've both been really going for games. They've both been, attacking, playing really good football. So I think from a neutral's point of view, it's going to be a cracker.
Eileen, will ball prevail here again?
Will Kieran Ball win the day? I don't know. I think Treaty. I think they could be a side who may slightly benefit from the amount of goals they scored and the different goal scorers they had yesterday, because that's kind of been a struggle for them. It's impossible to call. I'm kind of going to lean again towards Bows for the simple fact that they've been picking up results a lot freer than Treaty have. But like, there's not going to be much between them, because there isn't much between the two sides. But it's just the case of, we know Treaty are going to perform well because they always perform well, but can they turn that performance into a result? I'm not sure, but I don't think there'll be much. But yeah, Kieran Ball, a boo, I think.
Okay, cool. Turner's Cross, Eileen, same time Cork City entertains Shelburne. It's a tough game for City. It kind of has that Shelburne 1, Cork City 0 feeling around it. I can't get away from that kind of a result,
Yeah, to be honest, no, Declan, given recent history of games between the two, I'd actually probably take that as a City fan, because we've been on the end of a couple of hockeyings from them, including earlier on in the season. But like, they're the kind of one side that we've never got anything against. That has to change at some point. And I would like, if it was this weekend, it's just my fear is that, it said, like, they have kicked up that level. They'll be coming down full of confidence. That being said, I think City are a side that are full of confidence as well. And if they can take some of the good things, and if players can gain confidence in things that they were able to do against Douglas Hall yesterday, and try that, and that's including maybe shooting from distance and things like that. We don't really see a huge amount of that from City. But like, you're not going to get a huge amount of chances against Shelburne. So like, if that ball is sitting up, like as you saw with Aisling Meany yesterday, like, to take that shot on. And as we saw yesterday from Cork City, they have some really good strikers of football. So I just think, instead, if you could take kind of those positives, and then at least some good kind of came from the weekend for them in terms of performance. But it'll be a good game. I saw an interview, and the club had an interview, to be fair, with Danny Murphy up after the game, and I know he was kind of making calls that try to get a big crowd out. I think that's going to be hard, because it's Camogie All Ireland final weekend, and I think a lot of people will go to that, and there's inevitably a big crossover between groups that support like women's sport in Cork, and I think so that might hit it a little bit, unless the club make a really big push for a crowd.
And finally, John, Athlone lost to Piedmont in probably what they'd consider a disappointing manner. Then they had this week off in the cup because they got a bye, so they had that time to mull things over, and you think, like, will they be vulnerable? And then they have Sligo Rovers at home Saturday night, and you think, even if they are vulnerable, Sligo are probably the one team in the division who just won't be capable of exposing that vulnerability.
Yeah, it's tough on Sligo, like having recorded the win against Turnure and look a good 5-0 win. I think 4 different scores. The next game up then gives you very little chance to build on it with Athlone coming to town. I think Athlone, or sorry, with them going to Athlone, I think Athlone are like strong favourites here. You the way the games have gone, I don't think, as we said earlier, I don't think Sligo can take too much from the Turnure game. With the gulf that is between the league and the intermediate sides, so that what would have gone well for them against Turnure, they're not going to get those same opportunities against Athlone, and you can't really see anything other than that Athlone win.
Yeah, no, that is true. Guys, it's time for this.
Postman pattern in black and white cat. The cat makes race. Early in the morning, one bag of man is yawning. Him pick up all of the post bag in him van. A real bad man. Postman pattern, he mix up cat. Him team light skin. All of the bird them singing, but partner fool him a roll with the big thing. Just in case them try to rob him van.
Jason Shanahan asks Eileen, should PLR Park be kept away from televised games similar to Oriel and United Park?
Yeah, but like then I missed the game that I saw last week that was so good. But yeah, no, look, I do always think that it doesn't look great on TV. It said same, like, and you're looking at a whole experience. And I think if you see a game in Tala, it looks brilliant. If you see a game in Turner's Cross, it looks brilliant. And it does look poor. And then obviously you even have such an issue that it was a sunny night and there was a glare because the way the camera was, and you can only but look, that'd probably be quite harsh on Piedmont. But I understand his thinking. But like, there's no need to compare it to Oriel Park either. Like, come on, it's a lot nicer than that.
Yeah,
There's a clear difference in the number of fingers and toes, anyway. So that's the starting point. It's
another club upset.
Yeah,
don't even have
they
a
don't
women's
even have a
side.
women's thing. They won't even be this. It's another 3 years before we start to upset them, anyway. So, I'm not taking that out anyway. I don't care. That stays in. It was actually a 3-parter, John, so you can take part 2. Why does the Cork City stream seem like the camera is looking at the action from space?
I didn't think the stream was that bad yesterday, actually. I wasn't at the game. I was watching from home. I thought it was okay. I assume because they're using different cameras than they use for the men's game, if there's a difference in quality there. But I can't say I've noticed that it's been particularly bad in recent times. I would absolutely accept it earlier in the season it was, but I thought the stream yesterday was quite good.
Okay, and finally, why are there no highlights on FAI TV of the last round of Women's Premier Division games?
Because they don't care.
Ask Declan to email them, Jason.
It will go straight to the spam folder. Okay. Donican Noonan asks Eileen, what team do you most want City to draw in the Cup, and what team do you most want City to avoid?
I would like them to avoid Shelburne or Athlone. I'd also like to avoid Athlone and Shamrock because I feel like they both probably think they owe us one at this point. So Munster Derby, Treaty, I think we owe them one from that night in Turner's Cross because we just didn't show up, and I think we owe them one.
Well, like, is it not fair to say, and I don't want to be harsh on us, but every team left wants to draw Sligo? No?
I just said
I
I
would
wanted.
have said Sligo at home.
It's probably harsh, but I'm going to say Treaty, just to be different.
Okay, fair enough.
But I do want.
Is Shawnee happening? Okay. That's the wrong pod, but I think it might well be. Okay. Who's going to win the gold, silver, and bronze at the Olympics in women's football?
I said Spain before the tournament, so I'll stick with them, although I think the USA have been good, but I will go Spain, USA, Germany. Although I would love, and I mean now, genuinely, probably nothing would make me happier than to see Marta finish with it with an Olympic gold medal. I think that'd be incredible. But I don't think that will happen. I just think Spain are excellent.
Okay. Canada's eye in the sky isn't going to get them into the medals, no?
They're out. They're out.
Okay.
They were knocked out in penalties. They didn't obviously. the
Yeah,
drone
did
didn't. The drone didn't research Germany's penalties, unfortunately for them.
That's a poor oversight from those guys. I tell you, if you're going to do something, you better do it properly. Like, there was a couple of DMs. Let me just pull them up here. 2 questions. One, considering they have such a poor record against Shells, including their worst performance of the season away in Talca Park a few weeks ago, but taking into account Shells and Cork City are the only unbeaten teams in last 4 games, what's a good result for City next Saturday?
Like a draw is a brilliant result. Like if do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I
like, I
agree.
mean, I don't know if you could consider they haven't lost in 4 games some kind of like a brilliant record either. But if the City get a draw, I'd be absolutely delighted, as would Athlone, I would imagine, and Galway. So like we've never taken a point off Shelburne. I don't think we've taken anything off them in any competition. So that's even including the year I was involved. Their B team beat us. So yeah, I take a draw, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with
Eileen.
Eileen. I'd be celebrating a draw at home to Shells. I like having watched them as well against Galway. Like you'd be terrified for what they're capable of doing. We're a different proposition, but still a draw with Shelburne would be a fantastic result. They'd probably win the league. Like
You see, I'm in a minority of one here now, and I know that, but to me, the question is wrong. The question should be, what is a good result for Shelburne next Saturday? They're coming down to Cork, into Turner's Cross, into our home ground. You know, don't be worried about the big red. I don't know what you want to like. I was going to say the
Fun
big red
bus.
bench, but that's it's just no. Don't worry about that side of things, and let them worry about us as opposed to us worrying about them. Second part of the question, but only Shells and Athlone from remaining teams in the cup above City in the table, with a good jaw, genuine contenders to make a cup final or maybe even win it.
I think any of the sides left in it are capable of winning it, and I genuinely mean that. And I said that to somebody in town as well today. I really do. I think obviously, look, you need a favourable draw and you need a lot to go your way, but I do think, and we've said that in this podcast all season, like most sides in this league are capable of beating one another. So look, it would probably take a massive miracle for Sligo to win it, not to be disrespectful, but like other than that, the other 7 sides will be like, yeah, do you know, good draw here and there, bit of luck. But yeah, I think I think it's winnable. Again, ideally for everyone else, either Shelburne and Athlone draw each other at some point.
that
Yeah,
would be ideal.
I think definitely that's the way other clubs will be looking at it. If Shelburne could draw Athlone, everybody else is just has the exact same chance, and I think it could definitely be a surprise winner of the cup this year, if surprise is the correct word. Finally, another DM here starts off with saying very, very nice things about the podcast, but I won't read that out because just touching on something Declan touched on re-suspensions. Amanda McQuillan was sent off for Shelburne after the final whistle in the All-Ireland semi-final last Wednesday night. I'm assuming she played against DLR Waves because the disciplinary panel hadn't sat between Wednesday and Saturday. I'm assuming she will either miss their cup game in Galway or their next league match, which is the trip to Turner's Cross. DLR announced Shannon Cody signing on July 5th, if you check their Instagram. They're aware. So this is an interesting one, Eileen. We had a discussion about it, and we both agree. But I'll hand it over to you to say what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, I think she'll be suspended for the first group game of the All Ireland Cup next year because it's that competition. But I did also say, should the FAI don't have a clue, like, do you know what I mean? So they could change the goalposts on it. But I would think like the suspension is not going to carry over because it's a totally different competition. So that would be my thinking. And she's played now, didn't she? She played in the cup and she played a league game. So like they've obviously met at some stage. To be fair to Shelburne, like nobody knew outside of Shelburne that Noelle was suspended for that All Ireland Cup game, so she probably could have played and no one would have been any the wiser. Like, so I can't imagine they would have played her without checking with the FAI first that she wasn't suspended. But like then obviously look, that's not to say that a club wouldn't check with the FAI and still upset another club, do you know?
I'm not sure how the All Ireland Cup works in terms of suspensions, but my understanding was if that had happened in an FAI Cup game, if you're knocked out, your suspension carries into the league. You have to serve your suspensions in the same season. So
It
I
does,
think but I don't know if that applies to the All Ireland Cup. I really don't know what the statute
because
there
that's
is in
probably like a
terms of carrying
joint.
over.
Jan, is the All Ireland Cup like a joint effort with two organisations as well? I don't know. It's probably.
I would imagine it's if they haven't acted on it already, they're either incompetent or it carries over to next year, and each of those are equally likely.
Each can both be true. They can be incompetent and it can still carry over to next season. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
That's a very fair point, Mr. McCormack.
Oh yeah, I won't even reach the spam folders though. Just be bounced at the first firewall. Okay, so we think Amanda's going to be suspended for the first game of the group stage in next year's All Ireland Cup, but we will find out on Saturday because hopefully. Maybe Shelburne management, Shelburne players will be the first ones to join us on the footpad outside Turner's Cross. And hopefully I'll be in a position to ask somebody who might be able to answer said question. Guys, I think we're done. Is there anything else I've missed? Anything you need to get off your chest?
Oh yeah.
Anybody you need to say hello to, Eileen?
No, I'd just like to pass on the podcast's congratulations to Muireann Devaney, who won an All Ireland with Leitrim today. Brilliant achievement and no joke to be playing a number of sports at high levels, so huge credit to her, so congratulations.
Absolutely, yeah, I didn't know that. Congratulations to Muireann Devaney on that fantastic achievement. John, you were going to say something?
No, but just as Eileen brought that up, I might as well pass on my congratulations to the Kerry ladies football team who brought the cup back to the kingdom for the first time in 31 years. And as a family that have loads of Kerry jerseys in the house and obviously my country of birth, I was delighted with that result. And a very good game it was too.
Oh my God, I have no idea who won that. Sorry, no, the men's 100 metres is on. It's a photo finish, I'd say.
Lads, women's football
sorry,
only.
Sorry,
please,
like
that was women's football.
It's technical with me though, Sullivan. Sorry. There was no soup consumed 100 years ago, so it's still O'Sullivan. Right. At the risk of upsetting some of the ladies playing in the league, I'm going to outlaw any future women's GAA football talk. Right, guys, as I said, we're done. Is there anything else I forgot that you need to get off your chest before we pack it all in?
No, not for me.
All's done. Okay, well, with that, so toe tappers, we shall say good night. Hope you all have a good week, and we will hopefully talk to you next week when, as I said, we will have Shelburne on the footpad outside Turner's Cross, and I don't think I've looked forward to anything as much all season. But until then,
adios.
yeah, hopefully. Adios.
Adios.